everyone, welcome to Acutely Amanda. I'm Amanda. Today I'm seed starting for my minimalist urban container garden. So I live in an urban area. I have a limited number of containers I can garden in, so I need to be really thoughtful and mindful about what I grow. I also want to acknowledge that gardening is a hobby that can really explode and become very all-encompassing with a lot of supplies and tools and things. So it's helpful for me to be really thoughtful and mindful about what I grow, because once you start to become better at growing, the number of plants you have can become overwhelming and time consuming. So it's helpful to be thoughtful about it. So what am I seed starting today? So after a lot of years of practice, I have come to learn the plants that grow best in our location, and that I enjoy eating and my husband enjoys eating. So it's mostly peppers and a few tomatoes. So I have the fish pepper. So this is a seed that I'm just reading off the back of this. It was traditionally used in oyster and crab houses around Chesapeake Bay. It's an African-American heirloom that was first offered by William Moyes Weaver in the 1995 Seed Savers Exchange yearbook. They're medium hot. They are actually a really beautiful plant, so they're both decorative and edible. So the plant has these variegated leaves. I don't know if you can see that. And the pepper itself is variegated for some parts of its growing. It's one of those peppers that grows pointing upward, so it's really pretty. And it's also really delicious. We really like it on fish. So I'm going to be growing some of these. Then we have the Ancho Gigante pepper, which is basically the Mexican poblano pepper. We really like Mexican food and Tex-Mex food. I do my best to create those dishes for us because they're not really easy to find around here. So having some fresh poblanos is really nice. And then I have the miniature chocolate bell pepper. This is a mini bell pepper, which is really nice for an urban container garden because they mature rapidly, and so you get to enjoy them and get more produce out of them from a small container. And they are chocolate colored, which I just think that's beautiful and interesting, and I thought they were really fun. And then last I have these seeds, which aren't interesting to look at, but they are from a new pepper that I accidentally cross-pollinated in 2019. And these seeds are getting old, and I didn't have success growing it last year, and I really need to grow it again this year so I can save it again, so I can keep growing it in the future. So it basically makes a long yellowish pepper. I don't really know what it is, but I think it's yummy. So those are the peppers. And then there's one tomato, after a lot of experimentation, that I found grows on our porch really well. It's this Gold Rush Currant tomato. It's basically a cherry tomato. It's gold and yellow. It's delicious. It's really nice to just pick off the plant and eat. If I work really hard, I can manage to keep it watered well enough so it grows. And then the last thing I'm going to try to start today is some Culinary Sage. Sage is a perennial, and I would really like to be able to just have a sage plant because I enjoy eating sage. It's nice and chopped up, especially on top of like a fruit salad in the summer. So I'm going to be trying that. So what I need to do in order to start my seeds is I need to take the seeds and put them in this seed pod starter. It's this tray, and you can see I've already wetted down a few of my seed pods so that you wouldn't have to wait through all of that, but I do have to do 3 more so you can see what that looks like. You just load this up, and then it has a lid you put on, which I'll show you at the end, and that makes it into a mini greenhouse, which works pretty much anywhere. This is the smallest one I was able to find. I usually don't actually need all of this space. I wish I could find a smaller one. I might do this sometime in the future, try to swap down to a smaller one. Okay, so in order to start the seed pods, you need a bowl of warm water, which I have right here. And then the seed pods, they look like this. So they have a bottom and a top. It's easy to tell the top because there's this little round divot. And that's important because that's where there's like this plastic netting around it, which I'm not keen on, but you can't get them without them. And they only have a hole in the top, so it's important to know what the top is. So you just drop those into the water, and they will begin to hydrate. So it takes a few minutes. So while those are hydrating, I'm going to do some of my seed starting. So you just take your little guy that's all hydrated and you open the top up, and then I usually have a plate nearby, and I just take the top layer, of dirt right off. And then I guess I will start with the miniature chocolate bell because it's what's on top of my pile. So what I'm doing is I'm starting 3 different pods of each, and there's going to be 3 seeds in each pod. That's because not every seed you plant is going to start. That's just not how it works. And I find 3 to be usually a pretty good number. So if I do 3 in each pod, usually at least 1 seed in each pod starts. So you just put them on top. Like that. There's some pepper seeds there. And then you put the dirt on top of those. And it goes right back into the seed tray. So I do it again. So usually if I have 3 seeds in each pod, at least 1 seed will start. And then just because it starts doesn't mean it's going to turn into a full plant. So I usually do at least 1 extra above what I actually want. So I actually want 2 of each of these plants. That's basically what I have room for. So, ooh, I really dumped a lot out there. So that's why I'm doing 3 of each. If I actually get 3 of each, I won't actually have room for all of them, but I figure if that happens, I can give the plants away on my local Buy Nothing group, and that's okay. So there's 2 done. The pods are still rehydrating. They're about half rehydrated, the ones that I just started. And usually with peppers, you want it about a 1/4 inch deep, so not very far down. This chocolate bell pepper I first got last year, and I was really surprised at how much I liked it, and my husband really liked it too, and it's just not something you can find in the store. That's what's cool about doing your own gardening. Alright, the chocolate peppers are all planted, so on to next in the pile, the Ancho Gigante. Now, I'm sure in other parts of the country you can get the poblano pepper in the store easily, but poblanos are a little bit hit or miss around here. And honestly, our porch gets a lot of sun. It's really hot. I find that it grows really nice spicy peppers. So you gotta like the spicy peppers to appreciate our porch peppers. So there's our 3 seeds. Now in the past, I've grown us really spicy peppers, like the Fatali pepper is one of the hottest peppers you can grow. And I grew it and I made a hot sauce out of it, and wow, it was so spicy. We like spicy food, and we did not finish our hot sauce. So, and also that because peppers cross-pollinate amongst each other, so I didn't know this at the time, but if you plant hot peppers, you're not hot peppers, when they cross-pollinate, you make your non-spicy pepper spicier. I'm just going to go ahead and let this have 4 in it because I can't seem to get that 4th one off my hand and back into the container. Okay. So all of our peppers here were kind of really spicy, like much spicier than they should have been. So you'll notice that everything I'm planting that's a pepper is basically medium spicy this year because I like a little bit of heat, but I don't want super spicy this year. I suppose the miniature chocolate bell pepper isn't actually spicy. It picks up a little bit of heat from being near these spicier peppers, but it's not bad. I say all of this to say, if you are thinking about growing peppers and you have like one family member who likes heat and one who hates it, keep those peppers far away from each other or you're going to end up with hot peppers only. Alright. And that is the ancho pepper. So now we're on to the fish pepper. I actually have 2 open containers of these. So I'm going to start with the older ones just to use them up because seeds do expire eventually. I'm just lining these up behind my seed container so I can remember which row is which until I can write it down. Oh, it looks like before I get to the fish pepper, the seed pods are basically hydrated. They are. So this is what they look like, hydrated. So I'm just pulling them out. And then I'm just going to put them into a seed holder. All right. Alright, so the fish pepper. So yes, seeds do expire eventually, so if you have a couple of packets, and really, I shouldn't have bought another packet when I had a packet already. That was a past me mistake for minimalism. I should have used up the packet I had already. So I'm trying to be good. This year I didn't actually buy any seeds. I'm only using seeds that I bought in previous years. This is not coming out. Oh. Come on, seeds. There we go. All right. So when these do come up, if you have more than one start in a pod, you do eventually need to pick which one is going to be your winner and weed out the rest because each pod can only support one plant. So that is something also to keep in mind when you're that's part of why you wouldn't want to start like 10 seeds in a pod because you would end up wasting a bunch of them. Alright. Now if you asked me to explain why the fish pepper is so good with seafood, I couldn't tell you why. It just genuinely goes well with it. I've had it with other things, but it really is, oh, if you put it on salmon, it's really good. I would imagine it would be really good in a jambalaya also. It's just such a pleasant flavor with the fish. And like I said, it's also just a beautiful decorative plant. So if you're not sure if you would like the flavor, just give it a grow with one plant anyway, because it's beautiful to look at regardless. You can always skip away the produce if you don't like it yourself. Okay. That is the fish pepper, and I accidentally skipped a row. So the fish pepper will be here, and then this will be pepper varietal that I started myself. Okay. So this pepper reminded me of those peppers that you get sometimes on pizzas or with pizzas in Italian restaurants. I don't remember what those are called. If you remember what those are called, let me know in the comments. I do not remember what those are called. But that's what they reminded me of. Hopefully some of these will start, because I'm being generous this time because they're almost out of usability and they didn't really start last year. Like I said, I don't want to lose this pepper for all eternity, so I'm being generous with it this year. It's interesting that that only really happened to me once. If you put peppers near each other, they will cross-pollinate, and if you save your seeds, they might not necessarily be exactly the pepper you planted. They could be. Usually it's just a slightly spicier varietal, which is what happened with some of my other pepper plants. But this was a whole different looking pepper. Alright. Hopefully this generosity with the seeds in this group pays off. Alright, that is all of the peppers. So all that's left is the tomato seeds. Now, the smaller the tomato, the smaller the seed. So these are actually a little bit challenging to plant because the seeds are so tiny. I'm just getting this ready for the tiny, tiny, tiny tomato seeds. Okay. There they are. So tiny. Tomato seeds are actually kind of challenging to save. You have to kind of ferment them first a little bit. You can make out the seeds in the palm of my hand. You might not be able to. So yes, they're a little bit challenging to save. You can do it yourself. You have to kind of ferment them and then dry them out. It's a whole thing. You can definitely do it. It's also definitely a challenge, especially with ones this tiny. So I think it's kind of worth it to buy it. All right, if you can. All right, 4 seeds, 5 seeds fell out, but I'm just gonna go for it because they're so tiny. Some of them landed in there. Okay. All right, one more. Alright, that's those. Now before I show you how you set them up to start, I need to also start my sage, which you start a little bit differently. It's a direct sew, and I'm direct sewing it into a container. Whoop, making a mess. I'm direct sewing it into this container because it's perennial in zone 5 and up. But I find perennial in that way often does better if you bring it inside in the winter. So I'm going to direct sew it into this container. Give me a second. Alright, so this is a surface sew, so you sew it on the surface of the soil. So I'm just gonna see what size these seeds are. Oh, these are cute. I love seeds that look like this. They're like little blue black balls. So I'm just going to direct sew these in on the surface. I think I just lost one on that plate. Part of why I've got the plate around. So I'm just throwing them onto the surface here. It says to do 6 to 8 inches apart, but you know, I kind of just throw them on there and then I thin them down later. And also I find a lot of times those rules about distance apart can be broken when you're trying to do small container gardening. Alright, so now I just need to give that a spritz with my sprayer to make sure it's moist. And then I'll just put a Ziploc bag over the top of it for it to actually maintain some greenhouse to start. Okay, so speaking of the greenhouse, all I have to do with these guys now, put their little lid on top, like this. And then I will put it on my seed heating mat because it's important they're heated from the bottom. And it's also important they're in a place where they don't get direct sunlight until you remove them from this. And I will film an update when I remove them from this and put them into their next size up pots before they get planted outside. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed seeing what I'm starting for my container urban garden. Keep in mind that when you start things depends on what you're growing and what zone you're in. And if you're wondering about that, just give it a Google. Farmer's Almanac has a page where you can enter your zip code and it gives you a list for all the different types of seeds you might want to start. It's really helpful. Let me know what you're growing this year, if anything, and if you're not growing anything, what you think you might want to try growing sometime in the future. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye!